It's hard to have a better beginning to the month of June than the Georgia Bulldogs because not only today have we found out that Derion Kendrick will be going over to the Dawgs, it was just announced as I was doing the previous video on recruiting at Alabama, Oklahoma, and Texas that Arik Gilbert, the former all-world tight end from LSU, will be becoming a Dawg, and we have got to talk about this because this has massive implications. But before we do, as always, y'all know the drill. Hop down to the comments, give me a Y for yes or an N for no. Do you believe with this and all the moves previously made by the Dawgs that they are a lock to win the SEC East? Let me know what you're thinking there. If you're new to the channel, be sure to subscribe, hit that bell notification, that way you don't miss any of my content because I do constant college football content and you don't want to miss it at all. If you enjoy the content, like, comment down below. Those interactions are massive for content creators such as myself. But with all that being said, this is going to be brief, and we're going to start with Derion Kendrick because this is a very interesting move. The Georgia Bulldogs are a phenomenally talented team going into 2021, and if we look at it, they actually have more answers than questions than we typically give the Bulldogs. And what do I mean when I say that? The Bulldogs are always a great squad, but we're always kind of wondering what they're going to do offensively. They don't have that question anymore. Sure, Pickens goes down, and that's a big hit. It's a big hit for any institution to lose their number one bona fide wide receiver. But then you look at the depth they have at that wide receiver, and you look how they've kind of developed during the spring. There's a lot of options there. I'm not saying any of them are Pickens. It still hurts to not have Pickens. There's a lot of options there. In fact, this year, our questions for Georgia, conversely, were actually about that defensive back room, which is a really interesting place to be, because if you would have said 3 years ago we'd be kind of questioning Georgia's defense over their offense, a lot of people probably would have scoffed at you. And it's not questions as we think they're going to be bad. They're just a lot of new faces. A ton of new faces. But the Georgia Bulldogs have knocked it out of the park in getting transfers and recruiting as far as that position is concerned. Not only is five-star cornerback Keely Ringo going to be set to go, or at least we hope, for this next season, former five-star, you bring in Tyke Smith. You bring in all these guys from the transfer portal to be able to help you day one because they've seen other practices. They have experience. They have time in college football. The Georgia Bulldogs are trying to win now, and it is very apparent that they are trying to win now. They realize what they have in JT Daniels. They realize what they have in this offense, and they are in go now mode. That's why they have targeted the defensive back room as an area that they want to strengthen because they identified what could be a weakness and have just done a masterclass job in the transfer portal, getting guys to be able to help them in that department. Really well done. And if it would have just ended at the Kendrick transfer, I'd still feel the same, that you just knocked the transfer portal out the park in the subsequent transfers you've had before this, but also the Kendrick one. And it even goes a bit deeper, right? It adds a bit more of an intrigue to the game that we will see between Clemson and Georgia. Now that the former Clemson player is now with the Georgia Bulldogs, and he will be eligible week 1. If he gets that starting role, that's another storyline we have to look forward to. But Georgia didn't end there. No. In fact, they went out and got Arik Gilbert, one of the most coveted players in all of the transfer portal or in all of college football. You know, it's going to be very interesting to see how this is weighed because when it's all said and done, when I was doing my video talking about Henry To'oTo'o, I was talking about how there's one player in the transfer portal who could match Henry To'oTo'o for being that 1-1A as far as the best transfer acquisition in the transfer portal. Arik Gilbert out of LSU. And now he's at Georgia, in a situation to where if you're new to the channel, you wouldn't have heard me say it. If you're not new, you've heard this a lot. If you want instant offense and you're devout of it outside of a few positions, running back, tight end, competent quarterback, you can get yourself some very safe, very effective offense. But Georgia isn't in a position where they're devout from offensive talent at places outside of those areas. In fact, quite the opposite. Just because Pickens went down, that room is still very talented. And now when you add in Arik Gilbert, who, even though he's listed as a tight end, he has all of the skill set of a wide receiver, and there's even some mumblings that he will be lined up at wide receiver some in Athens because he has the athletic capability. It sucks that Pickens goes down. You never want to have that happen because can you imagine this Georgia team with Pickens, Burton, and Gilbert on this offense? Goodness gracious. But there are a lot of names on this Georgia team to come up, to be able to fill a place, to be able to make a name for themselves. And then you add in this litany of defensive guys from the transfer portal into that secondary that are all very good players. You've identified an area where you had a question and you went to fill it. And then at the last second, you look at your offense and say, how can we become even better? We already have a freakishly tall mismatch at tight end. Let's go ahead and get Arik Gilbert and just become another mismatch on the opposite side, because now the Georgia Bulldogs are in a situation where they have Darnell Washington and Arik Gilbert at tight end. And this is something that should put the SEC on notice, because this right here changes the way you have to go about it. And look, make no mistake, the Georgia Bulldogs still have things they're going to have to work through. Every team in the nation, as of right now, have things they still have to work through. And it is a long time before things get settled. But it is hard to imagine, especially with Florida losing all of their offense and that Todd Grantham defense last year just not being very good. And though I think they'll be better, I don't know that they'll be elite. It's hard to imagine anybody out the East being able to contend with Georgia on a serious manner. Florida's a proud institution, but they lost so much to the draft, and that defense, like I said, was not good last year, and Georgia's offense just got better. Really interested to hearing from y'all, because this is bombshell news. Can't wait to hear what y'all think. That's it. See ya.